These are the biggest military vehicles on the planet. A carrier that cost $13 billion and couldn't reliably launch its own aircraft. A tank running an engine the Army never asked for. A cargo plane that flew with 640 people when it was certified for 134. You've seen all of these before. You had no idea what you were actually looking at. The contract said the catapult system would fail once every 4,166 launches. In testing, it failed once every 181. And because of a single design flaw nobody caught before delivery, when one catapult goes down, all four go down simultaneously. Meaning the most expensive warship ever built had, in its first years of service, a 7% chance of completing a 4-day combat surge without losing the ability to launch a single aircraft. That's not a footnote, that's the ship. In 2025, the Ford spent 297 consecutive days at sea, a post-Vietnam record, with 4,000 sailors aboard, a sewage system that failed repeatedly, a laundry fire that destroyed 100 berthing spaces, and catapults still running below spec. The technology wasn't ready. The sailors deployed anyway. In July 1976, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld stopped the selection process and reversed the Army's own decision. The Army had tested both prototypes and chosen the GM diesel. Better performance, lower fuel consumption, proven technology. Rumsfeld overruled it and handed the contract to Chrysler, which was months away from requiring a federal bailout of $1.5 billion. The engine that went into the Abrams burns 1.67 gallons per mile and 10 gallons per hour at idle. Every tank in a sustained operation requires a dedicated fuel truck following it. 4 soldiers inside 68 tons of steel, planning the logistics of feeding the engine before planning the use of the tank. In Iraq, crews spent days in a vehicle that was harder to fuel than it was to armor. No other country copied the engine. The Army never asked for it. In July 1969, the wing failed at 128% of limit load during a static test, well below the 150% requirement. Lockheed made changes. In July 1970, it failed again, at 125%. Engineers calculated a 90% probability that at least 10% of the 79 aircraft fleet would develop cracks before reaching 19,000 flight hours. The fleet entered service restricted to 80% of maximum payload. It took a $1.5 billion re-winging program, completed in 1988, to restore full capacity. On April 4, 1975, a C-5A with a documented structural history was carrying Vietnamese orphans out of Saigon when the rear cargo floor panels failed in flight. 138 people died. The aircraft had been restricted. The crews were still flying. The mission didn't wait for the wings to be fixed. On November 13, 2020, an AN-124 departed Novosibirsk with 84 tons of auto parts aboard. Seconds into the climb, engine number 2 suffered complete destruction. Shrapnel punched through the fuselage at multiple points, severed the electrical cables at the left wing root, and simultaneously knocked out radio communications, electrical power, and thrust control on the 3 remaining engines. 14 crew members, no radio, no transponder, no full control. The pilot returned the aircraft and landed within 2 minutes of takeoff. The plane overran the runway by 300 meters into the snow. Nobody was hurt. The next day, Volga-Dnieper grounded its entire fleet of 12 AN-124s to inspect all 60 engines. That's the aircraft. 150 tons of certified payload, a world record that still stands, and a crew that brought it back with nothing working. In early 2002, a US Army MH-47E Chinook was stranded on a mountain in Afghanistan. The Army needed it back. The problem was weight, 12 tons, above the operational ceiling of the CH-53E, the heaviest helicopter in the American fleet. The only aircraft in the world capable of recovering it was a civilian Mi-26 tracked down through an aviation company in Toronto. It lifted the Chinook without difficulty. That's what the Mi-26 is. 8 main rotor blades, 20 tons of internal payload, a 1982 world record of 56,768.8 kilograms lifted to 2,000 meters that no helicopter has touched since. 3 months after recovering that Chinook, a different Mi-26 in Chechnya was hit by a surface-to-air missile while carrying 147 soldiers. It crashed into a minefield. 127 people died, the largest loss of life in helicopter aviation history. The last B-52H was delivered in October 1962. Today, 39% of active-duty US military personnel are under 26 years old, younger than the aircraft they maintain. The airframe was designed to last between 32,500 and 37,500 flight hours, a structural limit, not a calendar one. In those decades, the plane received new navigation computers, new communication systems, new pylons for hypersonic missiles, all installed inside the same metal tube that flew over Vietnam. A crew chief at Barksdale described the routine. Arrive at midnight for an 8 a.m. flight, 8 hours of preparation, reliability running around 85%. Better than the B-1, considerably better than the B-2. The joke inside the bomber fleet is that when the B-1 and B-2 retire, the pilots will ride home from the boneyard on a B-52. It stopped being a joke some time ago. The aircraft is certified for 134 passengers. On August 15, 2021, one took off from Kabul with 640 people on the cargo floor. It wasn't planned. Hundreds of Afghans climbed through the still open rear ramp as the crew prepared to depart, and the crew decided to fly anyway. The radio audio that leaked captured the moment. 800 people on our jet? Holy cow! The photograph went to every screen on Earth. 640 people sitting on bare metal, infants in laps, no seats, no belts. Human remains were found in the wheel well when the aircraft landed in Qatar. The Air Force investigated and concluded the crew acted appropriately. That same aircraft type dropped 1,000 paratroopers from the 173rd Airborne Brigade over Bashur, Iraq, in a single night in March 2003. The C-17 is the airplane that shows up when the mission doesn't fit any manual. 147. That's how many refugees a single CH-47 carried out of Saigon in 1975. The aircraft is designed for 36. The pilot said later that some of them weren't exactly comfortable, but they were going where he was taking them. The Chinook looks slow. It looks like a flying school bus. It is the fastest helicopter in active US Army service because without a tail rotor, both engines put every horsepower into lift and forward speed. It has operated at 15,000 feet in the Hindu Kush when other helicopters lost lift and quit. In service since 1962, projected to continue past 2060. On August 6, 2011, Extortion 17, a CH-47D on a quick reaction mission in Wardak province, was hit by an RPG that severed a rear rotor blade. The helicopter fell in 5 seconds. All 38 aboard died, including 17 Navy SEALs. the worst single day of American losses in the Afghanistan war. The Chinook was the safest option available that night. Its size was what made it a target.